Guys, one of the things that you'll probably want to do at the end of your sessions with clients is help them stretch. So often they can do this themselves, and they will do, but it's something that you can then add in, and it's a nice way to wrap the session up. It's good to get time to gain feedback or give feedback on their performance in a session and what's coming next, have a conversation about what they're doing on the weekend or whatever. But it helps them also to wind down after the session, and it gives you a chance to help to elongate their muscles in a way they might not be able to do themselves. So first thing I'm going to do, I've got John here, I'm going to go into a hamstring stretch first, just an assisted hamstring stretch. So I'm going to take his leg here up onto my shoulder. Now, my stance is important on this. I need to be in almost a lunge stance. All right, the last thing I need is for his leg to give away, all right, and then me and be in this position and fall on top of him. He doesn't need that either. So from here, I can now use my leg as a bit of suspension. So I'm going to hold above the knee, not below and not on top of, and I'm going to pull that leg so it's nice and straight on the hamstring there. I can see John's face already starting to change shape here. All right, so from here, all I'm now working on is trying to elongate the hamstring by leaning my body into his leg. Okay, so I'm going to gain a few degrees of more kind of hip flexion on this one and start to feel that hamstring start to move. Now I'm going to start feeling that move. I can feel a little bit of pulsing in there already, which is great. So this is an assisted stretch. So he's completely passive in his efforts here. All right, so this is number one. Now, if we want to make it into a PNF stretch, which is proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, I'm going to get him to switch his muscles on so that it activates slightly before I then tend to turn them off, and it should then elongate the muscle even further. So all I'm going to get you to do, John, is push your heel towards the floor, about 30% effort for 5 seconds. So keep pushing towards me. 4, 3, 2, 1. Now relax, and now that should allow me a little bit more movement. I'm now going to re-establish that movement, and then we're going to go again. He's got one more effort in him on this. So nice straight leg, push against me. 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. And I'm going to push a little bit further. So now he's gained quite a lot more in terms of range of motion there than we started with. So that's PNF stretching. Now, the third thing I wanted to focus on the assisted stretch is the hip flexor. So the hip flexor kind of gets a lot of battering during the day. I talked about this on other videos to do with posture, and it's something that I want to try to open up. It's not as easy as it sounds. And just pushing the hips into an extended position. So I'm going to get John to roll onto his side, facing away from me. So the top leg's the most mobile, so I'll be working on the top leg. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to put his leg outside my thigh. And I'm going to move into this position here where he's got a quad stretch, and I'm going to try to roll his shoulder back towards me while simultaneously pulling his knee back behind the midline of his body. That should push his hip forwards, whereas if I push him forward, he's going to roll forwards. So I need to make sure I keep that kind of rolled backwards and keep his knee rolled back towards me, and I can then start to push some pressure to push his hip forwards, and he should be feeling that in the hip flexor there. All right, so it's quite a nice way, again, to get into the hip flexor, and it's not a commonly used one. So it's something that you can use with your clients that's a bit different, and it's a nice way to get the hip flexor opened up. So that, guys, is your assisted stretching.